Finding random frames in Nosferatu until it's ugly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Gorgeous shot. The first thing I notice about this shot is the overall color of it. It is very blue and desaturated, and the way they achieved this look is not just with color grading, but with a scotopic filter that they put in front of the camera lens on set. And what a scotopic filter does is it basically eliminates all light above 570 nanometers on the visible light spectrum, and so essentially that just means it is filtering out all of the red and orange light, and all you're left with is the blue light of the image, which is perfect for a moonlit scene. You can see in this image when they shot outside in the daytime that they didn't use the scotopic filter, so you can see more red in his face, whereas at nighttime they eliminated all of that light at the source. So not an ugly shot. Let's find another one. 1, 2, 3. I really like this one. The first thing I'll say about this shot is the composition and the blocking is very nice. It's just a pattern of 3 people placed at varying parts of the Z-axis to create depth. And the other thing I notice about this shot is the depth of field is very shallow. These 2 people are not too far apart, but he is very out of focus and she is in focus, meaning they used a low f-stop. Finally, and probably the most important thing to notice about this shot is the highlights in the background. The sun is shining through these clouds and creating these hot spots. However, they're not overexposed. They're well exposed, and that is partly due to the fact that they shot on film, and film deals with highlights better than digital cameras do in most situations. If you shot this on a digital camera, these might be super overexposed, or her face might be super underexposed, but they shot on Kodak Vision 3 500T 5219 film, and that just handles highlights really well. So not an ugly shot. Let's go towards the beginning. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's a cool shot. Other than the obvious depth of this image and the fact that there is very soft light coming from a single source above them, the only other thing I'll say about this shot is notice the aspect ratio, and this applies to the entire film because the aspect ratio is 1.66 to 1, and they chose this aspect ratio to kind of have a mix between good close-ups and good wide shots. So obviously, wide shots will typically look better with a more anamorphic kind of frame size in a lot of situations. You'd have this part of the image over here that you could also see in wide shots, and you'd get a more expansive image. But this is not great for close-ups because obviously you're kind of cutting off her head and her shoulders down here. So they went with a mix, and they chose this aspect ratio to have a blend of both. Okay, not ugly. 1, 2, 3. Gorgeous. One of the things I will always point out when I see it is color harmony of an image, because I think color harmony of an image is one of the most important parts of making an image look good. And the color harmony in this shot specifically is the blues of the background and the blues of her dress, and the kind of, I guess, pinks or purples of the flowers with the subtle shades of pink in her makeup and skin tones. Also, there's obviously color harmony between all of the furniture. The furniture is all basically the same shade of brown. The other thing to know about this film that I found interesting was that 85% of the shots in this film were shot on 35mm lenses. And the thing that's interesting about that is that they actually built these sets, because this is a set, they built these sets with that in mind. And so if you went to this set in real life, it might look a little odd, it might look a little elongated or something, because they were matching the set design to the focal length of the lens. Okay, not ugly, let's go even more towards the beginning. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is interesting because it's being lit from a window which is in front of them, which essentially means that it's being front lit, which is not something you typically see in the rest of the movie, because lighting from the front of these people kind of flattens the image a little bit. It's still a nice looking image, but it is a little bit more flat than some of the other images we will see in this video, I'm sure. The other thing I found really cool about the earlier parts of this movie is that Jaron Blashy actually used a 81EF filter for a lot of the earlier scenes, which basically just warms the image up a little bit. But after Thomas goes to Transylvania, he takes the filter out, and the rest of the movie is a little bit more cold. Let me see if I can find another bedroom scene that's like later on in the film. So here we do see that she's being side lit here, and it creates more shadow and depth on her face. But other than that, I just want to go back and forth between this shot, which is later in the film, and the earlier shot in the same bedroom, which is earlier in the film. Here's this one. And here's this one. You can notice that their skin tones and everything is just a tiny bit more golden. It's not super noticeable, and I didn't notice it when I watched the film, but apparently that is due to the filter. This is a little bit more cold, and this is a little bit more warm. Also, the costumes and the set design contribute to that a little bit, but there is a filter happening. Okay, not ugly shot. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. This is a cool shot. Here we see the mysterious Count Orlok in shadow, primarily being silhouetted by this fireplace behind him. And what's interesting about this is that actually the set designer originally had plans to build the fireplace over on this side of the room, I think to the right side of the room, but the DP didn't like that because obviously if he's motivating light from the fireplace over here would create more of a defined shape, more light on his face, and the DP wanted him to be more mysterious, more darkly lit, and so he chose to redesign the set and put the fireplace behind him so he would be silhouetted. And that's just an interesting tidbit, like the place you put your light source matters. Okay, so not ugly, here we go, towards the end, 1, 2, 3. That's really cool. Here's a quote from the DP about how they lit some of the inside scenes like this. Jaron Blaschke says, "For the interior moonlit scenes, we hung an 18K Arimax on the grid and shot it across the whole stage over the set into a mirror placed 6 meters outside of the window to reflect the light back into the set." So for this shot, I guess that would mean they basically have a mirror in front of her and off to the side, and then they're shooting an 18K Arimax into that and reflecting back on her this way, creating that nose shadow and the kind of harsh light, because that's one of the things Jaron Blaschke really wanted for the Moonlight of this film is very defined shadows, very hard light, which is really nice. Or let me clarify, hard light can be nice. Hard light can be ugly too, but if you position your shadows correctly, it's very nice. So not ugly, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow. Apparently it took them 4 months to find this location with a very, like perfect crossroads shape, which I find insane. You're looking for 4 months for this one specific tiny one location that's only in like 1 or 2 shots. How do you have the budget for that? I don't know. But in terms of how they lit it, I think they're using the same 18K Arimaxes from above, and they're just trying to get those 18K Arimaxes as far away from the subject as possible, because the further you move a light source away from the subject, the harder the shadows are going to be. Look how clean the shadow is down here, and that's partly due to the fact that they aren't diffusing it, but also partly due to the fact that they are getting the Arimaxes really high up in the air and not close to the subject. And that's something you should always learn for anything you're lighting. The closer a soft source is to the subject, the softer the shadows are going to be. So not ugly, let's go around here. 1, 2, 3. That's really cool. So one of the things they really wanted to achieve with this movie is to shoot on film, but also to shoot with real candlelight and not augment it with LEDs or anything like that in certain scenes. And this is one of those scenes, I believe, which is very impressive because if you know anything about lighting, you know that candles don't really give off that much light. And in order to properly expose images with candlelight, you need very fast lenses. And that's exactly what they used. They actually had Panavision create custom lenses that they shot at a T1.1 aperture in order to get this kind of an image. I think the same thing happened with Barry Lyndon. I think they actually, on Barry Lyndon, they asked NASA to create lenses specifically to shoot with candlelight. And so that just goes to show you how expensive of a lens you need to be able to do this properly, especially on film. But there's a lighting technique they use, and they might be using it in this one, but I'm going to find a specific shot that I found a BTS photo for. So just hold on a minute. This shot right here. So I believe they are lighting with actual fire, but what they are doing is they are amplifying that fire with a mirror. Here is a BTS photo of that. And so basically the fire is bouncing into the mirror, which is then bouncing onto his face, as well as just coming straight from the fire itself, which is a pretty ingenious technique. Not ugly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nice. So this frame is actually inspired by a painting by Caspar David Friedrich, which was called Wanderer Above the Sea Fog. And here's a screenshot of that painting. You can obviously see the similarities in the color, and I'm always a supporter of that. Not an ugly shot at all. Let's go towards the end. 1, 2, 3. Again, we don't say that shots are ugly based on the facial expressions of the characters. That would be cheating. It's not the most pretty shot though. I think the interesting thing about this one is the lighting, because it's being uplit, definitely. There's a single source on the floor right here uplighting her, which obviously I'm sure you guys know that lighting someone from below kind of creates a more spooky look, and obviously this is a more spooky part of the film. It can be cheesy in some cases though, and I don't think it's cheesy in this case, but let's do some research about how they lit this. Okay, so here's a BTS photo of this scene. As you can see, they are lighting with a single lamp down here. It's a very bright lamp though, and if they are lighting this in the same way that they lit something like The Lighthouse, same DP, same director, I bet you anything there is a bulb in this lamp that is very bright. It's not actually being lit by just fire like we have seen earlier, because this is just very bright, very highlights and stuff, you know what I mean? I'm getting tired. This film's taking a lot out of me. But anyway, back on topic, I'll just say one more thing about this type of lighting is that it's not the type of lighting you kind of expect from movies that look really good, a single source with just like a one bulb kind of thing. And I think I am going to choose to take that as inspiration, that you can make a film look good with very simple, inexpensive lighting. You can make a film look good with one bulb, as long as your actors and your set design and your costumes and your location all look good. You can choose to light in a very inexpensive, simple way. Okay, so I'm going to say the shot is not ugly, even though I'm sure some people will disagree. Let's go back towards the middle. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've seen this same kind of setup, but let's research the lighting a little bit more. So from my research online, I think they are still using an 18K Arri Max, either bouncing off a mirror or just shining directly through the window on this side to give the primary light on her face right here. But they are also doing something interesting and creating what Jaron Blaschke calls a skylight. Basically what he means by skylight is just the ambient light in the entire room, all the soft light that you can't really tell that's really filling in the cracks and crevices. And the way he's doing that is by surrounding some of the windows with white molten fabric, which is similar to superior muslin, 6 meters from the window, and lighting that fabric with several Arri M90s bouncing off of the fabric and just coming into the room and filling everything a little bit. I think you can see some of that with this BTS photo. Okay, not ugly. Let's go towards the very end. 1, 2, 3. He's scary and he's looking right at me. So again, we have the same bedroom scene. The light is coming from this way. The only other thing about this scene in particular is that they actually had rotating mirrors outside of the window for this. As you can kind of see some of the reflection off those mirrors, I think back here, which is more orange. And that's just to mimic the sunrise. So in this scene, the sun is rising. And the way they achieve that is just by having mirrors on tracks or something and rising and rotating, basically reflecting the light in different angles, and so you would see the shadows on the wall moving and you would see the light on his face like creep up and everything. Just go watch the scene and look at it. I can't show you with the still frame. Okay, I'm gonna start doing this faster because I'm getting tired. 1, 2, 3. Really cool. I think all of this, I don't know if all of this is a set, but I do know they built a lot of sets for this film. 1, 2, 3. Whoa. Oddly enough, that's one of my favorite shots so far. That's absolutely gorgeous. 1, 2, 3. It's not very pretty, but it's not ugly. I do like the lighting. 1, 2, 3. Whoa! What are we doing here, guys? 1, 2, 3. Again, gorgeous candlelit scene. 1, 2, 3. Again, I think this is lit by the fireplace and probably mirrors. 1, 2, 3. That's really cool. I love how the highlights are kind of contrasting with the shadows right here. 1, 2, 3. We already saw that one. 1, 2, 3. That is great moonlight. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, all of this is a set. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, don't look at that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Count Orlok again. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the frame I'm going to deem ugly. It's very underexposed. You can barely see what's going on. I know some people might disagree, but I'm not saying the shot is ugly. I'm saying this frame is ugly. I would not want to hang this frame on my wall, even though the rest of the film is absolutely gorgeous. So there it is, Nosferatu. Let me know in the comments which movie you want me to tackle next, and like and subscribe. Goodbye.